Hello. So for this video, let's continue talking about the legislative department, particularly legislative privileges and parliamentary immunities. I think short lang to. Yes, so we will also talk about sessions, quorum, and voting majorities, and uh, and the lawmaking process. Yep. So until Jan siguro, and then a separate video for electoral tribunals and commission and appointments. Yep. Okay. So, what is privilege from arrest? A senator or member of the House of Representatives shall, in all offenses punishable by not more than 6 years imprisonment, be privileged from arrest while the Congress is in session, whether regular or special, and whether or not the legislator is actually attending the session. Hence, it is not available while Congress is in recess. So, members of Congress, whether from the upper house or the lower house, whether senator or congressman, basta yung offense, yung imposable penalty rather, is hindi mag-exceed sa 6 years imprisonment, then bawal siyang makulong if yung Congress is in session. Siyempre, kapag yung imposable penalty naman is for more than 6 years imprisonment, then a case may be filed against him and he may be arrested. Pero kapag in session, whether regular session yan or special session yan, whether a-absent sa session si senator or si congressman, basta in session yung Congress at that time na dapat i-arrest siya, and yung crime for which dapat siyang i-arrest is a crime that is punishable by not more than 6 years imprisonment, then privileged siya, meron siyang immunity. This is to ensure representation of the constituents of the member of the Congress by preventing attempts to keep him from attending its session. Or of course, constituents, kapag ka senator naman, syempre yung ibig sabihin dito is kapag district representative na klaseng congressman. Kasi syempre, importante na nare-represent yung legislative district niya. So, kapag party list naman, same. This is to ensure na represented yung party niya during sessions. Kapag senator naman, of course, binoto ng tao yan at the national level. So, his participation in session is also very important. It's a duty to the public, diba? Especially a Republican kind of government as previously discussed. That's why mayroong privilege from arrest. Sessions cover the entire period from its initial convening until its final adjournment. They may, however, be arrested even when the House is in session for crimes punishable by a penalty of more than 6 years. So aside from privilege from arrest, members of Congress also enjoy privilege of speech and debate. No member shall be questioned nor be held liable in any other place for any speech or debate in the Congress or in any commitment thereof. This is to enable the legislator to express views bearing upon the public interest without fear of accountability outside the halls of the legislature for his inability to support his statements with the usual evidence required in the court of justice. They may not be questioned in any other place, but they may be questioned in Congress itself. So requirements to avail of the privilege of speech and debate. First, that the remarks must be made while the legislature or the legislative committee is in session. And second, that there must be made that they must be made rather, yung statements must be made in connection with the discharge of official duties. The member of the Congress may be held to account for such speech or debate by the House to which he or she belongs. He or she can be subjected to disciplinary action by the Congress itself, however. Each House may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3 of all its members, suspend or expel a member. A penalty of suspension when imposed shall not exceed 60 days. Kasi syempre, importante din yung participation niya na siya yung binoto ng tao to represent a certain legislative district or a party, di ba? So, hindi naman yung suspension mag-exceed ng 60 days. However, pwedeng expulsion. That's also a way of removing someone from Congress. Diba? However, kapag may vacancy, again, pwede naman siyang i-replace. So, hindi naman sila doon parang nagpapakute lang. Meron silang rules, internal rules sa kanila wherein members may be punished. So, financial disclosures and business interests. Members of the Senate and the House of Representatives shall make a full disclosure of their financial and business interests. They shall notify the House concerned, whether upper house, the Senate, or lower house, the House of Representatives as the case may be, kung saan sila nabibelong, concerned of a potential conflict of interest that may arise from the filing of a proposed legislation of which they are authors. Okay, so now let's talk about Incompatible Office. So, no senator or congressman may hold any other office or employment in the government or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including GOCCs, or their subsidiaries during his or her term without forfeiting his or her seat. So, pag na-elect na siya as member of Congress, bawal na siyang mag-hold pa ng any other office or employment sa government or kahit sa any subdivision, agency, instrument, department, pati GOCCs at subsidiaries ng GOCCs. Forfeiture is automatic upon assumption of such other office that is incompatible with his seat in Congress, and no forfeiture shall take place if the member of Congress holds other government office in an ex officio capacity. So, bakit bawal? Kasi gusto nating mag-focus yung mga elected members of Congress natin sa job at hand, which is very important. And yung pinaka-job nila is, again, lawmaking. So, hindi biro yun. It's a full-time job. Kulang pa nga yung 24 hours siguro, di ba? Hindi dapat yung expected sa kanila is hindi lang sila mag-work ng regular 9 to 5 job. It's an advocacy. It's something that they should always be thinking about and always working on. So, with great power comes great responsibility nga sabi ni Spider-Man, di ba? Si Spider-Man ba yung nagsabi or yung tito niya or something. Basta yun. So, kaya dapat focus lang sa isa. Kapag tumanggap siya ng ibang appointments, for example, in-appoint siya ng president sa cabinet niya, then ifo-forfeit yung seat niya sa Congress. Magkakaroon ng vacancy doon. Kailangan niyang bitawan. Hindi nga pwedeng pagsabayin. Hindi sinasabing bawal niyang tanggapin yung ibang trabaho na ino-offer sa kanya sa government, but kailangan niyang pumili ng isa. Can't have both. However, merong mga position sa government na held in ex officio capacity. Anong ibig sabihin ng ex officio capacity? So, pag sinabi mong ex officio capacity, hino-hold mo siya dahil sa position mo nga. So, for example, sa Commission on Appointments, meron dyang members ng Congress na part din ng Commission on Appointments. So, that's a different position, right? Different yung functions and it's a different body. Pero, allowed to kasi ex officio, held in ex officio capacity, meaning ex officio members, kunwari, kung sino yung Senate President. So, dahil yung Senate President, dapat siya rin yung mag-hold ng office sa isang, kailangan niya rin i-fulfill yung isang role or responsibility dahil nga siya yung Senate President, for example. Then, ex officio capacity siya by virtue of the office. Hindi niya pinili yun. It just comes with the job. Ganon. Or if mapili siya to sit at some body by virtue of him being the senator, for example, or being the congressman, ganyan. Mga position that are held in ex officio capacity, hindi ito incompatible office. Okay lang to. Isa yun sa exceptions. So, ano naman yung forbidden office? Neither shall the member of Congress be appointed to any office which may have been created or the emoluments thereof increased during the term for which he was elected. The ban against appointment to the office created or the emoluments thereof increased shall, however, last only for the duration of the term for which the member of Congress was elected. Parang yung pinag-usapan natin about salaries, diba? Kailangan mo nang hintayin kung sino mag-enjoy ng increase. Same concept, but this time, hindi salary, pero yung office. Bakit? Napakasimple ng dahilan, napaka-practical ng dahilan. Dahil nga, meron silang power, diba? May power of the purse, may lawmaking power, pwede pa silang gumawa ng mga offices. So, bawal yung gumawa ka ng office, kayo yung nag-author niyan, tapos kayo rin pala uupo. E di, tempted ka niyan na gawing very favorable sa'yo yung office and yung position. 'Di ba? So, parang ginamit mo lang yung Congress para sa personal gain mo and personal advances mo and economic interests mo. So, hindi naman pwedeng ganon. Hindi ka pwedeng gumawa ng office or taasan mo yung mga sweldo sa certain position sa office na yon. Tapos, pag nagawa mo na yon na ipasa na as batas, bigla kang lilipat din doon. Parang ginawa mo pala siya para sa sarili mo. Hindi naman pwede yon. Okay. So, parliamentary inhibitions and disqualifications. A member of Congress shall not personally appear as counsel or as lawyer, as attorney, before any court of justice or before the electoral tribunals or quasi-judicial and other administrative bodies. This is to forestall any undue influence, deliberately or not, upon the body where he or she is appearing. The law firm to which the senator, congressman is a partner or a member of is not prohibited. Okay lang na partner ka ng firm. Maraming ganyan. Like for example, si Chis Escudero, diba? Long time senator na. Pero, senior partner siya sa M. Saville na law firm, for example. So, maraming ganyan. Maraming lawyers na naging senador, naging congressman. And meron silang mga sariling firm nila kung saan sila ay partner. And hindi naman nila kailangan i-forfeit yung pagiging partner nila as long as hindi sila mag-appear sa any courts, kahit kahit judicial or quasi-judicial bodies or tribunals. Kahit nga administrative bodies, bawal silang mag-appear doon as lawyers to make their case. Why? Kasi as politicians, meron silang influence somehow. So, whether gagamitin nila yung influence na yun or not, the Constitution said that we couldn't take the risk. Let's just assume that they will if given the chance, parang ganon. So, bawal na lang talaga. A member of Congress shall not directly or indirectly be interested financially in any contract with or in any franchise or special privilege granted by the government or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including any GOCC or its subsidiary during his or her term of office. So, parang same lang sa forbidden office na concept. This is to prevent abuses from being committed by members of Congress to the prejudice of the public welfare and legitimate contractors with the government who might be placed at a disadvantageous position. The prohibited contracts are those that involve a financial investment or business of which the member of the Congress expects to derive profit or gain. Ito yung iniiwasan. And the member of Congress cannot intervene in any matter before any office of the government for his pecuniary benefit or where he may be called upon to act on account of his office. So, dapat walang financial or economic interest. Kasi yung mga franchises na yan, diba? Sa Senate din yan So, bawal magkaroon ng personal benefit. Kasi mahirap kapag yung lawmakers mo impelled by their personal benefit na wala talagang limit. Diba? Wala talagang rules. Kasi magiging inclined or magiging inclined sila to abuse their power. Kasi human nature yan the desire to get more, diba? The desire to acquire more and more, diba? So, dun yung corruption. So, as much as possible, minimitigate yung corruption. Pero, alam naman natin na meron pa din, pero at least, diba, with these provisions, parang merong safeguards kahit papano. And lastly, as to members of Congress, there is no general prohibition as to the practice of their profession. So, they can still practice their professions as long as, yung bawal? As long as hindi lang sila ma-involve sa any contract with the government wherein meron silang personal gain na malalaman. And if lawyers sila, bawal sila mag-appear as counsel. And ayun. Okay, so what is a regular session? Dalawa kasi yung uri ng sessions Pwedeng regular session or special session. So, Congress convenes once every year on the 4th Monday of July for its regular session, unless a different date is fixed by law. So, kung gusto nilang ibahin, kailangan nilang magpasa ng batas to that effect. So, 4th Monday of July, unless a different date is fixed by law, until 30 days before the opening of its next regular session. The 30-day period is the minimum period of recess and may be lengthened by Congress in its discretion. It is exclusive of Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays. So, special session. In a special session, Congress may consider general legislation or only such subjects as the President, hindi Senate President but as the President of the Philippines, the Chief Executive, may designate. The following are instances when a special session may be called. First, it's called by the President at any time. Second instance is to call a special election due to vacancies in the office of the President and Vice President at 10 in the morning on the third day after the vacancies occurred. Third, to decide on the disability of the President because a majority of all members of the Cabinet have quote-unquote disputed the President's assertion that he or she is able to discharge the powers and duties of his or her office. So parang magkakaroon ng vacancy kasi incapacitated daw si President. And another instance when pwedeng mag-call ng special session is in order to revoke or extend the presidential proclamation of martial law or suspension of the writ of habeas corpus. So voluntary recess. It takes place before the adjournment of Congress. Compulsory recess, on the other hand, takes place when the Congress adjourns. So, before the adjournment, dapat, yung 30 days before the opening of the next regular session, that's voluntary recess. Compulsory recess naman kapag nag-adjourn na si Congress. Election of Senate President, Speaker of the House, and other officers. The Senate President or Speaker of the House is elected through a majority vote of all its respective members. Each House shall choose such other officers it may deem necessary. The provision is explicit on the manner of electing a Senate President and a House Speaker, but silent on the manner of selecting the other officers in both chambers of Congress. So meron din silang officer, parang classroom. The method of choosing who will be the other officers must be prescribed by the Senate itself. Kapag Senate, the rules of the Senate neither provide for the positions of majority and minority leaders nor prescribe may mali sa notes ko, not kasi kaya pala weird, nor prescribe the manner of creating such offices or of choosing the holders thereof. Such offices exist by tradition and long practice. The method of choosing who will be the other officers in Congress, such as the minority leader, is merely a derivative of the exercise of the prerogative conferred by the Constitution that each House shall choose such officers as it may deem necessary. Therefore, such method must be prescribed by the Congress itself, not by the court. So, parang meron silang house rules sa kanya-kanya nilang house. So, meron tayong rules sa Senate, meron tayong rules sa House of Representatives, and sila din mismo nagde-determine. So, meron yan silang book na parang handbook nila na parang rules, andun yung rules nila. Pero pwede rin nila ibahin yon na may consensus ng ibang members. So, quorum. Majority of each house shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as such house may determine, depende sa rules nila. The basis for determining the existence of a quorum in the Senate shall be the total number of senators who are in the country and within the coercive jurisdiction of the Senate. Basically, quorum, majority of each house. Kapag ka may quorum na, pwede na silang go about their business. Kung walang quorum, wala ring effect yung pinag-usapan nila. So, kailangan may quorum. Majority of all members, pag sabi majority, 50% plus 1. Majority of all members of Congress. When you say majority of all members of Congress, that means majority of the entire composition of Congress, upper house, lower house, Senate or Senate and House of Representatives, regardless of the numbers of members present or absent. Kasi sa quorum, yung sinasama lang sa computation ng 50% plus 1 is yung nasa bansa and yung kayang i-compel na pumunta. So, kapag ka parang naka-leave like outside of the country, hindi siya sinasama sa computation ng quorum. So, bakit importante? Kasi dito, it will spell the difference of a valid meeting sa hindi. So, kaya ganyan. Kasi baka, kung walang quorum, lahat ng pinag-usapan nyo dun, walang kwenta, nagsayang lang sila ng laway. Kaya kailangan may quorum. So, kung 24, para sa quorum, hindi kailangang 13, which is the majority of 24 sa Senate. Pwedeng less than 24 yung basis mo. If, for example, dalawa wala sa country, so, i-minus mo yung dalawa, so 22. Yung 22 na yun, ano yung 15% plus 1 ng 22? So, 11 plus 1, 12. Yun. Pero pag sinabi mong majority of all members of Congress, regardless sino yung present, sino yung absent, sino yung nasa ibang bansa, sino yung nandito sa Pilipinas, lahat yan sila, kailangan yung computation mo ng 50% plus 1, yung basis niya is yung lahat ng members ng Congress. Majority of the House, it means 50% plus 1 of the actual membership of the House who are within the coercive jurisdiction of Congress. Pag sinabing within the coercive jurisdiction of Congress, only those who are in the Philippines. So, instances when the two houses vote separately. Pag sabi mong vote separately, kanya-kanya silang may vote. Si Senate, mag-vote sila. Si House of Representatives, mag-vote sila. Pag sabi mo namang vote jointly, ipagsasama mo sila. Yung 200 plus na members ng House of Representatives at yung 24 senators, i-combine mo sila. So, when nagkakaroon ng separate voting ng two houses, first in choosing the president, second in determining the president's disability, third in the confirmation of the nomination of the vice president, fourth in the declaration of the existence of state of war in joint session, and joint yung session pero yung voting separate sa declaration of the existence of the state of war. And proposing constitutional amendments. When naman joint yung voting, that is in revoking or extending the proclamation suspending the privilege of writ of habeas corpus, and revoking or extending the declaration of martial law. So, isipin natin, laging vote separately yan, except lang dito sa dalawa. So, tatandaan lang natin yung dalawang to, yung tungkol sa extending or revoking yung declaration of martial law and yung suspension of the privilege of writ of habeas corpus. The rest, vote separately. Rules of proceedings. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings. These are needed for the orderly conduct of the sessions of the Congress. The power of Congress to promulgate its own rules to govern its own proceedings is generally exempt from judicial supervision and interference, except on a clear showing of such arbitrary and improvident use of the power as will constitute a denial of due process. So, hindi siya justiciable controversy kapag tungkol sa rules of proceedings kasi yung rules ng Senate, yung rules ng House of Representatives, sila nag-decide niyan eh. So, wala nang pakialam si Judicial Department dyan. Unless na lang talaga merong arbitrary and improvident use of the power. Okay. Wait lang. Okay. Inayos lang konti sa notes. Okay, each house may punish its members for disorderly behavior and with the concurrence of 2/3 of all its members, suspend not exceeding 60 days or expel, pag expel babay na talaga a member, So, kailangan ng concurrence ng 2/3 of the members, of all the members of the House concerned, of course. The interpretation of the phrase disorderly behavior is the prerogative of the House concerned, whether Senate or House of Representatives, and cannot be judicially reviewed. The courts may annul any expulsion or suspension meted out in violation of the voting requirement, or as to any period in excess of the maximum period of suspension. There are procedural matters and therefore justiciable. Members of Congress may also be preventively suspended by the Sandigan Bayan in connection with the violations of provisions of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, which is RA 3019. The other suspension prescribed by RA number 3019 is distinct from the power of the Congress to discipline its own ranks under the Constitution. Both houses of Congress, upper house or lower house, have established a code of conduct over which their respective ethics committee exercises jurisdiction. Okay, so now let's talk about the lawmaking process. Okay, so first, what is a resolution? A resolution is a formal expression of opinion. Okay, opinion lang. Iba siya sa bill. So, opinion or will or intent by an official body or group. So, hindi lang naman Congress yung pwedeng mag-issue ng resolutions. Resolutions are employed with respect to matters within the exclusive authority of the lawmaking body or to express an attitude or opinion. Resolutions do not require the approval of the president to be effective, unlike a bill, which I will discuss later. So there are three kinds of congressional resolutions. First is the simple congressional resolution, which is passed for the exclusive use or purpose of either house. So, within their house, like for example, within Senate, pwede silang mag-issue ng resolution addressed to the members of Senate. Same with the House of Representatives, pwede silang mag-pass ng resolution also addressed to the members of the lower house. Concurrent resolution is passed independently in one house. So, ipapass mo siya sa either upper house or lower house, and then it is ratified by the other. So, gagawa sila ng resolution, ipapasa nila, and then, since bicameral, ipapas nila dun sa kabila, tapos, yung kabila, they will vote on it whether okay sila doon or hindi. Then, of course, kung ano yung resolution na yun, it is binding as to them. Joint resolution is approved by both houses, voting separately but in a joint session. So, they will meet together but they will vote on it separately. So, what is a bill? Okay, so yung topic na to, it's about the story of how a bill becomes a law. Parang lang siyang caterpillar na naging butterfly. So, a bill is a draft. A draft, just a draft, without any effect. A draft of a law submitted to the consideration of a legislative body for its adoption. That's why sa news, mini-mention lagi yung bill. Bill pa lang. Pag bill pa lang, ibig sabihin hindi pa siya na-ratify into the law. Hindi pa siya effective without legal effect. So, hindi pa siya kailangang sundin, hindi pa natin kailangang magpanic kasi yun yung nanonotice ko Parang yung mga tao, once na merong bill na ginagawa, parang nagpapanik-panik na sila, ganito, ganyan. But yes, pinag-uusapan yung bill. And dapat lang din naman talaga pag-usapan din ng mga tao yung bill kasi yung mga discussion na to nakaka-apekto din sa legislators natin who will vote on it whether they should pass the bill into a law. Same sa president, merong involvement ng president sa lawmaking process. So, ano ba yung steps for a bill to become a law? Dalawa lang naman yung pinaka-basic steps niyan, although mayroong mga sub-steps. Yung first step is that the bill, in order to become a law, it must be approved by Congress. So, when you say approved by Congress, ibig sabihin approved siya ng dalawang houses. Kailangan pumasa siya sa House of Representatives and then kailangan pumasa siya sa Senate. So, kaya may terms sila na parang namatay na yung bill. Hindi na umabot, hindi na naging law. Kasi, dun pa lang sa level ng Congress, patay na. Parang ganon. Pero kung mabuhay pa siya, di ba? Then, the next step is the approval by the president or his or her inaction. Kasi kung papabayaan lang ni president, hindi nga i-veto, veto meaning ayaw ko niyan, ibabato niya balik sa Congress. Yun na lang para matandaan yung veto, bato, pak. Kasi sounds alike. So, first, it must be approved by Congress. The bill must be approved by Congress for it to become a law. That's the first step. That's the legislative action required of Congress, which is a positive act. They have to act on it. Hindi pwedeng inaction dito. But the second part is the approval of the president after it has been approved by Congress. Okay? Hindi siya or, it's and. Bawal na sabihin na, hindi na-approve ng Congress, pero okay naman si President, no. Or okay naman si Congress, pero, well, pag walang ginawa si President, the bill will still become a law, pero the President has the option to veto or to deny the law and ibabato niya ulit. So, process of enacting laws. A bill is signed by its author and filed with the Secretary of the House where it originated, because a bill can be drafted by any of the legislator. Diba? Pwede nilang i-author yung bill na yon. That's why nga, when we talk about track records of legislators, we're talking about how many bills they've drafted, how many of those bills became laws. Kasi yun yung purpose nila. They are sitting in Congress to make laws, right? So, ang tanong is, sa term mo, ilang batas nga ba yung ginawa mo? Yun yung level na sukatan ng productivity mo Kasi you're there to create laws. So, how many laws have you authored? Ganun yung question. If you're looking to see if a senator, for example, or a congressman is indeed a hard worker or, all fluff and, jingle lang for the next election, in order to get your vote. Diba? Puro pakulo lang, pero sa Kongreso, wala naman pala siyang in-author na bill. Diba? So, ayun, it can originate either upper house or lower house. However, there are bills that should be drafted at the lower house lang. Ibig sabihin, kailangan yung bill na to galing talaga sa House of Representatives. Yung senators, bawal mag-draft, bawal mag-author ng mga ganitong uri ng bills. If nag-author sila ng mga ganitong uri ng bills, mali. Hindi tama. So, congressmen lang pwedeng mag-author ng certain bills. Okay? In general, pwede rin mag-author yung senador. Pero may certain exceptions. Lahat pwede nilang i-author because plenary yung legislative power except sa appropriation bill, revenue bill, tariff bill, bills authorizing increase of public debt, bills of local application, and private bills. So, yung 6 na bills na to, kailangan galing sa House of Representatives or lower house, and kailangan yung mag-author nito or congressmen lang. Okay? So, paano natin i-memorize to? There's no way around it. Kailangan i-memorize. Basta involving pera and basta local application. When you say local application kasi, tandaan natin na merong mga district representatives sa House of Representatives. So, yung bills of local application, mga laws to involving a specific or particular legislative district lang. Isang lugar lang, hindi siya affecting the whole Philippines or other provinces and other cities or municipalities, no. Just a law pertaining to an issue, solving a problem sa isang specific local legislative district, or applicable lang siya sa isang local legislative district, so not involving all. Wait lang. Okay, so going back, how a bill becomes a law. So yung first step nga is the approval of Congress. So i-break down natin yung step na yon. So merong 3 readings, 3 readings, and then it goes to the conference committee, will issue report, and authentication of bill before it goes to the next step, which is the approval of the president or his or her inaction. So, first reading. So, di ba nag-author sila ng bill? It's just a draft of a law without legal effect. Pero, laws, they were bills once. So, sa first reading, babasahin yung title of the bill. May rules din sa title of the bill. Dapat yung title, hindi lang kung anong trip mo yung title. Merong format yan para alam mo na agad na yan yung ibig sabihin ng bill na yan. So, dapat clear yung title. Dapat nandyan na yung topic. Kung magigets mo na ba? Kung ano ba yung mga example ng titles ng laws? Which were, of course, bills once. Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act. Alam mo na agad from the title na yun yung subject. Anti-Violence Against Women and Children. Alam mo na rin agad. Anti-Terrorism Bill. So, alam na yung topic, yung subject. So, babasahin sa lahat yung title of the bill. And then, merong mga committees kasi sa Congress. I-refer siya, yung based dun sa title, i-refer siya sa appropriate committee. And yung committee na yan, pag-aaralan nila yan, and they will make recommendations. And sometimes, the committees will conduct public hearings para alam nila kung itong bill ba na to gusto ng mga tao. Okay, kailangan ba to ng mga tao or are they against it? We have to remember that legislators or politicians, they are elected by the people to represent the people in Congress. Kasi Republican nga. So, yung judiciary, they can't be bothered sa public opinion. However, legislative, they thrive in public opinion because that's their purpose to reflect the people's will. They represent the people talaga. So, the executive kasi just implement the laws that the legislative makes. So, kaya may public hearings. Kaya if may mga kailangan, if for example, merong mga gusto yung mga tao na walang existing batas currently for that, for example, same-sex marriage, diba? These are things that people lobby to Congress. They ask Congress to make a law sa particular topic or particular issue to address a certain issue, for example. Because the judiciary, they can't act on something unless there is a law. Diba? taga-interpret lang ng batas si judiciary. Si executive naman, can't act if walang law din because taga-implement lang si president ng batas. So yun, first reading. And then, after na pag-aralan, after mag-take ng recommendations, after mag-conduct ng public hearings, kung ano man yung kailangan nilang gawin, okay? Sila na bahala doon kung paano nila gawin yung dapat nilang gawin. So, after na ng lahat ng yan, yung committee, kung kanino inassign yung bill, will submit a report and recommendation na, okay, sige, pwede natin gawan. Or hindi, diba? For calendar for second reading. Pwedeng mamatay na yung bill mo sa stage pa lang na to. Sa first reading. Pag parang ridiculous na siya sa una pa lang. So, we won't waste taxpayer money on something that's garbage. Diba? Garbage. So, pwedeng pag wala talaga siyang kwenta, ayaw siya ng mga tao, for example, and, sa napag-aralan ng committee parang negative. So, first reading pa lang wala na yan. However, kapag buhay pa siya sa first reading, pupunta na siya sa next phase, which is the second reading. So, after ng recommendation ng committee, bibigyan din sila ng assignment yung mga authors ng bill. Sa first reading, dapat pulido na siya. Kasi na-take into account mo na yung kailangan. Na pag-aralan na, may recommendations na, may reports na. So, kung may mga mali-mali dun sa initial draft, dapat na-refine na siya by the time na aabot siya ng second reading. So, meron ka ng improved draft, kumbaga, after niyang ma-survive yung first reading. Then, papasok na siya sa second reading. Now, there is a reading of the bill in full. Remember sa una, title lang yung kailangang basahin. And then, pag-aaralan. Yung sa pangalawa naman, yung babasahin sa Congress is the entire bill. Pati yung mga amendments na pinropose ng committee. Okay? Yung committee na pinag-aralan na niya, nagkaroon na siya ng recommendation. So, by that time, sa second reading, ano na siya? Improved version of the initial draft. Ito yung improved version na to. Ito yung babasahin sa Congress. Okay? And then, there's a reading unless copies thereof are distributed. So, pwedeng basahin sa Congress, tapos makikinig yung mga legislators isa-isa. Or pwedeng parang assignment na bibigay sa lahat ng members, okay, take home, basahin nyo yan sa mga bahay nyo at your convenient time. Pero syempre magsaset sila ng meeting na, okay, basahin nyo yan until ganitong time para pag-usapan natin. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng indefinite, diba? Na, kung kailan lang. Syempre, kailangan sa next meeting nila, dapat meron ng working knowledge yung legislators kung tungkol saan yung bill kasi pagbobotawhan nila yan in case So, dito, mababasa na ng lahat yung improved version ng draft. And then, pagdedebatihan nila ulit yan, merong pagkakaroon ng discussion, may mga pertinent motions that will be raised, and of course, amendments. So, sa second stage, sa second reading, pwedeng yung improved initial draft lalo pang ma-improve. Okay? Meron na namang mga amendments na pwedeng idagdag dyan. So, pagdating ng pag na-survive niya to, pwede rin siyang mamatay sa second reading pa lang sa debate nila, parang napagkasunduan nila na wala talagang kwenta to. Diba? Hindi to papasa. So, ibasura na natin. Let's not waste our time. Pero pwede namang mag-survive siya, taking into consideration yung mga amendments. Okay naman to, pero kailangan yung idagdag to. Hindi, huwag yung idadagdag yan, ganyan. So, since, Congress, it's one body, it's a collegial body. They have to decide as a group. Okay? Yung rule din talaga ng majority. That's why, kailangan, meron din silang mga allies or friends doon para they can support each other if may gusto silang mga bills na i-author, i-pass, mga ganyan. That's why, yun nga, they are the epitome of what you would call a politician, yung mga senators and congressmen. Kasi they have to play politics within Congress, 'di ba? In order to get other people on board sa kung ano man yung mga bills na ino-author nila, ganyan. Or sa mga bills na ayaw nila, 'di ba? They have to have people on their side para ma-exercise kung ano yung intention or will nila. Kasi if not, wala. 'Di ba? Kahit na author siya ng bill dyan, pwedeng hindi siya ma-approve. Hindi siya umabot ng first reading, hindi siya umabot ng second reading, mga ganyang bagay. Pwedeng sa committee level pa lang, deads na yung bill. Ganyan. Pero pag okay naman at na-survive na yung second reading, then papasok na tayo sa third reading. So, yung third reading is the submission of the bill as approved on the second reading. So, improved version na talaga to sa third reading. Parang final na to talaga. Ito na, actually, hindi parang. Dapat sa third reading, yung itsura ng bill mo parang law na talaga. Ito na talaga yun. So, pag na-survive na yung first reading, second reading, third reading na pagbobotohan na siya. So, it will be approved for a final vote by yeas and nays. The no amendment on the third reading rule is not applicable to the Bicameral Conference Committee. The rule refers only to procedure to be followed by each House of Congress with regard to bills initiated in each of the said respective houses before the said bill is transmitted to the other house for its concurrence or amendment. So, sa third reading, okay, kunwari, yung first reading na to, for example, may nag-author na congressman, so lower house. So, magkakaroon ng first reading, i-deliberate, ganito, ganyan, tapos umabot na ng second reading, lahat ng to within House of Representatives pa lang, ganyan, and then third reading, pagbobotohan ng mga tao sa House of Representatives. Kapag mag-survive siya, hindi magiging law agad yung bill na umabot ng third reading sa lower house. Kailangan ngayong ipasa sa other house, which is the upper house ng House of Representatives. Tapos uulit na naman yung process doon sa Senate level or upper house level. Magkakaroon din sila ng first reading doon, second reading doon, and then third reading doon. And habang ginagawa nila to, maaaring meron pa rin silang karagdagang amendments or changes na gusto nila. So, paano yan? Paano mo i-reconcile yan? Kasi, yung initial version ng bill, yun na yung gusto ng Congress eh. Nakapag-amend na sila dyan, nakapag-vote on it na sila dyan. Tapos yung Senate pagdating sa kanya, meron pa pala siyang iba pa na gusto na maaring in conflict din sa gusto ng initial na authors and ng House of Representatives, diba? So, ano yung gagawin? Paano ma-reconcile? Ibabalik ba? Hindi na ibabalik. Bubuo na lang ng conference committee na yung members nito, may members galing here, may members din galing here, tapos ayusin nila. So, the other house shall follow the same procedure. If the other house approves the bill without amendments, the bill is passed by Congress. Kung wala naman na amendments, okay na. Ipapasa na ng upper house and then transmit na agad sa President. May approval ng lower house, may approval ng upper house, and then President. Again, hindi lang sa House of Representatives nag-originate yung bills. Pwede ding mag-originate sa upper house. So, pwedeng upper house, first reading, second reading, third reading, okay na. And then, ipapasa pa rin nila dun sa lower house. Hindi porket upper, lower, yung order is from lower, upper lang. So, pwedeng gumawa or mag-author ng bills yung senators and then ipapasa nila sa House of Representatives na first reading, second reading, third reading. Tapos, pag okay na, itatransmit sa President for approval, which is the next step. However, again, if the other house introduces amendments with which the originating house does not agree, the differences will be settled by the conference committees of both houses. The conference committee's report will have to be approved by both houses in order that it will be considered passed by Congress and thereafter sent to the President. The conference committee consists of members nominated for both houses. Such committee is an extra constitutional creation, meaning hindi nakasaad doon sa Constitution of Congress, whose function is to propose to Congress ways of reconciling conflicting provisions found in the Senate and House of Representative versions of the bill. It is within the power of the Bicameral Conference Committee to include in its report an entirely new provision that is not found either in the House bill or in the Senate bill. So, okay lang na magdagdag sila ng provisions. And if the committee can propose an amendment consisting of one or two provisions, there is no reason why it cannot propose several provisions, collectively considered as an amendment in the nature of a substitute, so long as the amendment is germane or related to the subject of the bills before the committee. The committee should not, however, perform the functions that the Congress itself may not do. And the Bicameral Conference Committee is not required to comply with 3 readings on 3 separate days rule. So, yon, very important role ng Bicameral Conference Committee para i-reconcile yung Senate version of the bill and the House version of the bill. So, next is the Authentication of Bills. That's the next step. So, it's signed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Senate President of the approved printed copy of the bill, followed by the certification by the respective secretaries of both houses. And then, after na pirmahan ni Speaker of the House of Representatives, so yung pirma niya dyan is an indication na approved na siya ng House of Representatives or ng lower house. And then, pipirma din si Senate President na nagsisignify na approved na to ng upper house or ng Senate. Then, sorry about that. So, after na ma-approve ng Speaker of the House and the Senate President, so their approval is shown or indicated, in the form of their signatures. It will be followed by certification by the respective secretaries of both houses. And then, itatransmit na siya sa President, which is, our last step. So, the President can either approve, veto, or do not act on it, inaction. Pwedeng, wala lang, pabayaan lang niya. And silence means yes in this case. So, the transmittal of the authenticated bill to the President is for him to approve the same, meaning he shall sign it. Otherwise, he can veto it. Again, return the same with his objections to the House where it originated. So, kung nag-originate siya sa upper house, ibabato niyo dun sa upper house. If nag-originate siya sa lower house, ibabato niyo dun sa lower house. Pero, kailangan niyang gawin to within 30 days after the receipt of the bill sa office of the president. Otherwise, kung he or she doesn't act on it for 30 days, it is as if the law has been signed into a bill. Again, silence means yes in this case. So, what are the different kinds of veto? We have pocket veto, general veto, item veto. Yung item, these are particulars, details, and the distinct and severable parts of the bill. So, punta muna tayo sa item veto. The President may veto separate items sa appropriation, revenue, tariff bill without vetoing the entire bill. Kasi, as a general rule, walang partial veto. Hindi pwede yung item veto. Yung item veto, it's just an exception to the general rule. And item veto can only be done sa appropriation, revenue, or tariff bill na pwedeng i-veto yung mga items lang. Sa ibang uri ng bill, bawal ang partial veto. Pero may exception na pwede ang item veto, and that is if we are talking about separate items of an appropriation, revenue, or tariff bill. So, as a general rule, in the exercise of veto power, it is generally all or nothing. The exception is an item veto when it comes to appropriation, revenue, or tariff bills, because the government needs the money to run its machinery, and it cannot veto the entire bill even if it may contain objectionable features. The intent of an item veto is to prevent the legislature from forcing the president to veto an entire appropriation bill. Thereby, of course, yung effect niya is to paralyze the government which needs, funds in order for it to operate. So, a pocket veto is the vetoing of a bill because of inaction or not acting in the time given by law. So, therefore, diba, meron bang pocket veto sa Pinas? Wala. Because our laws have the opposite effect. Yung sa atin, yung inaction ng president is a yes. Silence means yes in this regard. That's why inaction actually passes the bill into a law. Sa pocket veto kasi baliktad. So, our laws do not allow pocket veto because inaction of the president, again, means approval in our Constitution. General veto is if the president disapproves a bill enacted by Congress. So he or she should, as a general rule, veto the entire bill. Hindi pwedeng mag-veto ng separate items of the bill unless na lang it's an appropriation, revenue, or tariff bill. Yan lang yung only exceptions na allowed yung item veto. Doctrine of inappropriate provisions. A provision that is constitutionally inappropriate for an appropriation bill may be singled out for veto even if it is not an appropriation or revenue item. Any provision which does not relate to any particular item or which extends its operation beyond an item of appropriation is considered an inappropriate provision which can be vetoed separately from an item. Also included are unconstitutional provisions and those that are intended to amend other laws. So ito, isa rin to sa exceptions ng item veto. Inappropriate provisions, basta unconstitutional and inappropriate, then since wala naman talaga siyang effect pwede siyang i-veto kasi eventually papatagalin mo lang yung process, i-declare pa rin yan ng judiciary as unconstitutional. Kaya kahit hindi siya an item sa isang revenue tariff appropriation bill, okay lang. As a general rule, walang item veto unless it is an item sa revenue appropriation tariff bill. And yung isang exception is unless na lang it is an inappropriate provision which is unconstitutional or very contradictory to the existing laws, and yung purpose niya is not to amend the purpose of the bill, or is not to amend pero it has a provision that somehow amends something, so it's considered as inappropriate and may be struck out in the form of a veto. Reversal of veto. So, in case na merong veto by the President, if after such reconsideration, 2/3 of all members of the House where binato siya ulit, where it originated, shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent together with the objections to the other House, by which it shall likewise be reconsidered, and if approved by 2/3 of all the members of that House, it shall become a law. So, in case lang na vetoed ng President yung bill, hindi naging law therefore, ibabalik nga sa House where it originated. Ideally, may kasama ng mga recommendations niya ng President. So, yung gagawin ng House kung saan nag-originate ito, it could either be, Senate or House of Representatives, but for example, if it is a revenue bill, an appropriation bill, a private bill, a bill authorizing increase of public debt, mga ganyan, a tariff bill, dapat mag-originate talaga siya sa House of Representatives. Kapag ibang uri naman ng bill, then it could either originate sa upper house or sa lower house, as the case may be. Basta yung point is ibabalik ni President dun sa kung saan talaga galing originally. I-reconsider nila and then they will vote on it. If makavote yung 2/3, merong approval ng 2/3 of the members of such house, then hindi pa to last step, ipapasa pa niya dun sa kabilang house. Tapos, dun sa kabilang house, i-reconsider ulit nila, and if okay na yung 2/3 of the members of that house, then wala nang effect yung veto ng President. It will be passed into a law. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about executive impoundment. It refers to the refusal of the President to spend funds already allocated by Congress for a specific purpose. It is the failure to spend or obligate budget authority of any type. So this could happen kasi, again, kahit may batas dyan, it's up to the President to implement it. And dapat naman talaga niyang i-implement. However, in the implementation or in the execution of laws, especially, the budget, the power of the purse kasi is nasa Congress eh. So, of course, nagre-recommend yung President nung sa budget. I-discuss natin yan pagka executive department na yung pinag-usapan natin. Pero, kailangan ng law kasi for there to be an appropriation. And sometimes, the President, ayaw niyang i-spend yung funds na yun yung parang nilaan ng Congress for that purpose. So, that's executive impoundment. Yun yung term. Legislative or congressional veto. This is unconstitutional as declared in the case of Abacada Guru Party List versus Purisima, because it violates the separation of powers by either subjecting the executive action to disapproval by Congress or requiring approval of the executive action by Congress. It means it is a means whereby the legislature can block or modify the administrative action taken under the statute. It is a form of legislative control in the implementation of a particular executive action. And again, implementation is, it is the duty the right and duty of the executive na bawal i-encroach ng legislative. And we have discussed exhaustively sa previous videos, check nyo na lang, separation of powers. Legislative veto requires the president or an administrative agency to present proposed IRRs, implementing rules and regulations of a law to Congress, which is a no-no, because by itself or through a committee formed by it retains a right or power to approve or disapprove such regulations before they take effect. Sure, yung regulations dapat mag-comply dun sa main law. However, yung IRRs na to, wala nang pake dito yung Congress dapat. Sino yung magja-judge if yung IRR na yan nag-e-exceed sa purpose and intention of the law? Kasi dapat yung IRR nagko-comply din sa law eh. IRR, mas mababa of course sa law. Kasi implementing rules and regulations lang siya of the main law. So yung main law, yung essence nun, dapat consistent yung IRRs doon sa main law. So, sino yung magde-decide niyan? Hindi na pwedeng pakialaman ng Congress yan. Once nagawa na yung batas, ibabato na yun sa executive i-implement mo na. Nasa kay executive na kung paano niya i-implement through IRRs. Diba? So, hindi pwedeng sabihan ng Congress na, patingin nga, ay ayoko ng IRR mo, parang hindi siya okay dito sa batas. It's not up to Congress to decide. Rather, it's up to the third branch of, the government, which is the Judicial Department. Si Judicial Department ngayon, yung mag-i-interpret, sabihin niya, ano ba yung IRR mo? Hindi siya consistent dito sa law. Mali yan. Okay? Hindi pwede yan. In fact, sa review ng judiciary, pwede nga sabihin na, ay ano tong batas na ginawa mo, Congress? Unconstitutional to. Hindi yan, bawal yan. So, I hope you can see the picture kung paano nag-i-interact yung tatlong departments in terms of the lawmaking process. So, a record is the word-for-word transcript of the proceedings taken during each session. Each house, upper house at lower house, each house, so isa-isa sila, should also keep a record of its proceedings. The journal is regarded as conclusive with respect to matters that are required by the Constitution to be recorded therein. With respect to other matters in the absence of evidence to the contrary, the journals have also been accorded conclusive effects. So matters that are mandated by the Constitution to be entered into the journal, yeas and nays on the third and final reading of a bill, veto message of the President, yeas and nays on repassing a bill vetoed by the President, yeas and nays on any question at the request of 1/5 of the members present, and the vote of each member of the House of Representatives in impeachment cases. So, enrolled bill theory. An enrolled bill is one duly introduced and finally passed by both houses. So, ito na yung napirmahan. Authenticated by the proper officers of each, Speaker of the House, Senate President, and yung mga secretary nila, secretary ng House of Representatives, secretary ng Senate. It is conclusive upon the courts as to the tenor of the measure passed by Congress and approved by the President. In case of discrepancy between journal entry and the enrolled bill, what prevails? Of course, the enrolled bill prevails, except to matters which under the Constitution must be entered into the journal, which is, yeas and nays, the third and final reading of the bill. Syempre, yung journal yung mag-prevail dyan. Same with the veto message of the President. Ano ba talaga yung veto message of the President? Yung prevail, it's kung ano yung nasa journal. Yeas and nays on repassing a bill vetoed by the President. Yeas and nays on any question at the request of 1/5 of the members present and vote of each member of the House of Representatives in impeachment cases kung anong nasa journal, yun yung magpaprevail. Apart sa 5 to, laging yung enrolled bill yung magpaprevail. Okay, now let's talk about adjournment. Neither house during the sessions of the Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the 2 houses shall be sitting. So types of adjournment, it could be a day-to-day adjournment, a yearly adjournment, or a synody. Anong pronunciation yan? Let's check. Synody. Tama. Synody. DI. Yung Latin scholars daw. Synodi. Actually, iba-iba. Meron sasabi, synodi. Anyway. Nagda-digress na ako. Medyo sabaw na. So, when we say place, at the place where the houses are sitting, it does not refer to the building, but the political unit. Okay. So, pwede naman silang sa ibang lugar sila, pero of course, dapat may mga rules din yan sila, pero they can conduct their business elsewhere. For example, binomba, knock on wood. Binomba sila doon, di ba? Binomba yung building. So, ibig sabihin ba, they cannot meet, they cannot adjourn. No. As long as, it's like the concept of a church. It's the people, not the place. The term recess has a definite legal meaning. It means the interval between a session of Congress that has adjourned and another of the same Congress. It does not refer to the interval between the session of one Congress and that of another. In that case, the interval is not referred to as recess but an adjournment synodi. So, next topic natin would be electoral tribunals and commission on appointments. And then, powers of Congress. Yep. Okay, ang dami pala nitong powers of Congress. Next is power of legislative investigation and oversight function. Hindi ko na i-discuss yung initiative and referendum kasi we already discussed it sa previous videos. So, maybe I'll just mention for a bit. But, yun lang for legislative. After natin yan, we will go to the executive department and then the judicial department and then the concoms and then CONSTI1. Yay! So, once na mag-constitu na, I will also start uploading videos on property law and then CRIM 2, book 2, and then succession. Alright, see you sa next one. Bye!